James O'Donoghue, we are not the last two in the Gaelic grounds, but I've held you back long enough that you'll miss all the traffic on the way home to Kerry this afternoon. You must be happy. After that display, Kerry have won by 14 points, 5-14 to 15. They've beaten Clare in the 2023 Munster Final.
Yeah, I think Kerry definitely upped the ante from the Tipperary game. And the one criticism you could have of Kerry kind of after that match was the creativity up front. There wasn't any kind of chance of a goal, or there wasn't any rhyme or rhythm to their attack in terms of trying to get a goal. And it was the exact opposite from the absolute start today. You could just tell they were going for the jugular. They wanted to get the goals, get them early and put Clare under pressure. And we were actually counting them up. We reckon they had 10 goal chances between actually getting in on goal and fisting it over the bar, which is another debate, and the ones they actually got plus the ones they've missed. I mean, 10 goal chances, that's some serious creativity and some serious attacking. So that's one thing the Kerry would be delighted with. The only downside, and again, you're picking holes in a brilliant performance, but the only downside is the Clare kick 15 points. You'd be thinking, realistically, when you're not much control of a game, you should be keeping them to 10 or 12. I think that Jack might have alluded to that in his own interview. But realistically, it's a great day for Kerry. Tightening the bag onto the group.
Jack said both of those things in the post-match interview that I had with him after the game, and it was interesting. He said that we were delighted with the chances we created. It came from the training ground on our warm weather training camp in Portugal. That's what you've been talking about a lot in the football pod.
Love a warm weather training camp. But
was it Clare's defence, or was it just that Kerry were ripping them open? Because we saw the backdoor cut work too many times.
It was both. You can tell sometimes when you work a lot on something in training, it's just so in your mind all the time. And probably the best example was for the second goal, when Tony Brosnan was in the 13 corner and gives a long diagonal pass to Paul Gainey. Realistically, if goal's not on your mind there, Tony might have worked his own shot for a point, but he knew there was space to the back post. He said, I'll try it. The exact same thing then when Paul Gainey fetches it. He could throw it over as well if he wanted to, get a point on the board, but no, he sells a dummy and gives a lovely pass into Darren Moynihan.
You were calling that in the gantry, the second Brosnan got the hands in the ball in the wing. Is that something you would have worked on all the time in Kerry, that kind of a move?
Yeah, definitely with Paul Gainey as well, because the ball he wants is that ball. There's no point in giving him a ball down into the corner, down low. But when I see that on for him, the crossfield ball, when he gets that in his hands, he's so creative that it can be a goal chance. And in those Portugal trips or the warm weather camps, you probably might do 50 reps of those. So it's just in the front of your mind all the time, whereas you've so much other things to be doing at training, usually between getting your kilometres in, your defensive work, everything else. But on those camps, it's just about expression and about skills and scoring goals, and that's why you can improve so quickly.
Who else impressed you in the Kerry attack? David finished the day with 2-6, and we'll talk about how difficult that must have been for the Clifford brothers today, but Paulie got a goal as well. Who else performed well for you? Darren Moynihan definitely impressed in the first half, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought two of the most hard-working lads definitely were Darren Moynihan and Tony Brosnan. I thought both of them put in a serious shift, and both ended up with a goal. So it kind of does prove that you can do both, you know. And when it comes to Tony, he's so lethal in front of goal. So when he's providing that kind of defensive effort as well, it just adds a different dimension to his game. And Darren Moynihan, the amount of tackling Darren Moynihan got through today, and eventually Jack brought him off and said have a rest because he'd put in a flawless display, I thought, and set the tone, because especially in the second half, Clare came out and, you know, got a bit of momentum going. The crowd were kind of saying, all right, Clare are coming back here, probably not to win the game obviously, but they were showing some good resolve. And Dara had a couple of big turnovers, and you could tell, you know, he had the chest out. He was roaring at fellas saying, come on lads, you know, we're still in this. So I thought he set a great tone. Himself and Tony, I would say, were the two outstanding forwards on show.
That kind of bite and anger that we saw from Moynihan today, reminiscent a little bit of how Paul Galvin would play in that 10 jersey at times?
Yeah, and that's what that role needs. It needs that. It needs you to be a horrible person at times. You know, it needs you to be that cynical, maybe the odd foul, a good strong tackle, bit of showmanship, and then you also need to be able to chip in with scores. I think that's, and we've had this discussion on numerous shows about the half forward line scoring. If you can take a bit of pressure off your full forward line by chipping in with a goal or a point or two, it just makes the opposition think a bit differently about how they set up defensively. And if Kerry can keep chipping in from the half forward line, it'll keep them on the upward curve.
Jack wasn't happy that Clare kicked 15 points today. He said that he was planning to keep him to 9 or 10. Colin Collins after the game wasn't happy that his side didn't get to 20 points. That was their aim today. They felt that if they got to 20 points, they'd have had a chance. Clare's attack, you were looking on a couple of times in the first half, and you kind of expressed frustration that they were getting in each other's way. What were you seeing there with the Clare attack? Because they do have fine forwards.
It's hard to explain, but if you looked at the difference between the Kerry forwards and the Clare forwards, every time the Kerry forward had the ball, there was Kerry forwards running away from them to create space, not only to get the pass, but also to get a kick pass, but to leave the player in possession with enough room and enough space that there's not bodies in his eye line. So there's fellas running away, and then there's a late runner coming off the shoulder. In contrast to that with Clare, whenever a forward had the ball, every forward ran off his shoulder. So what you're doing is you're bringing yourself onto the ball carrier plus your man. So if there's 3 or 4 fellas doing that, suddenly the ball carrier is completely crowded out. And it happened a lot of times, but luckily for Clare, when they were staying in the game, they got kind of some handy frees out of it, and they managed to tip on a few scores. But something that they can work on in attack, I think, is just keep a bit more structure, keep maybe 1 or 2 wide, or maybe in closer to the goal at all times, and don't rush out straight for the ball. Just be a bit patient and see, can you get a late pass in the move?
Yeah, because they do have a fairly settled triumvirate there, with Cleary, McMahon and Sexton being the main source of scores. That's something that they could definitely work on. They're going to get 3 games now against, as Colin Collins said, they're in the Ulster Championship. It's going to be the Ulster winners, Monaghan and Donegal. They have Donegal in their first game now in 2 weeks' time at home in Ennis. So that is something they can work on pretty quickly.
100%. And against those teams is when you need to do that, because all those 3 teams are going to be very physical and attack the ball when you have it in the forwards. Whereas if you can just rotate it a bit more and get that kick pass inside late in the move to a Keelan Sexton one-on-one, like there was chances in the first half today, we were looking at it, Jason Foley and Keelan Sexton were one-on-one inside about 40 yards, and Tyg Morley was sweeping, but maybe he was on the way back or cut out at times. If Clare had it in their head to move that ball a bit faster, it might have created some chances. Now at the same time, they had a great battle, Sexton and Jason Foley, very enjoyable. I think Jason Foley came out on top. I thought he was outstanding. But that's something they can definitely work on.
We're saying to Jack after the game, when you have a full-back like Foley and the athleticism that he has and the speed that he has, you can afford to back yourself. I know to play Morley in that role, but you can afford to back your full-back. You can't trust them to go one-on-one. When you're a forward and you're up against someone with, now Sexton's speedy too, but if you're up against someone with that pace and power that Foley has, how are you meant to make runs off him? Because you roared at one stage, you don't make straight runs off Jason. What do you mean by that?
What I mean is, when you're looking for the ball off a kick pass, you know the type of fella you're going to be marking. If you're faster than him, you can make a nice straight run, and you know that he's going to have to leave you win the ball because you have him for pace. As you get older, and the pace starts to go a little bit, and very often your marker might have a yard on you, you have to be a bit cuter with them. And even though Keelan Sexton is in the prime of his career, Jason Foley is so quick that you have to change up your runs at different times. So there's a couple of ways to do it. Either you get physical with them and try and push him out the way to get the extra yard, or you put angles in your runs and you have to work so hard, maybe get 5 or 6 different runs in different directions. But if you just go for one run dead straight against a Jason Foley or a Tom Sullivan, they're going to beat you out to the ball realistically, and they're going to make you remember it as well. You know, it's going to be in the back of your head for the next ball.
It's how you cooked your GPS numbers back in the day, is it?
Well, I put them in the car on the way home.
So Kerry now go on to play Mayo in their first game. The game today was played under the cloud of the very sad passing of Ellen Clifford yesterday. We might just talk about that for a moment. The news came out yesterday afternoon. We didn't know up until throw-in whether Paddy or David would play. They did. Jack said that they wanted to do her memory very proud as well. So you must have thought that looking on, 2 players that you would have played with in the Kerry team too.
Yeah, I think we all had a huge somber feeling and a sorrow feeling today for the lads. I mean, 2 of the soundest fellas, the nicest family you could meet, and to know that some of your ex-teammates are going through that is very difficult. And for them to show up, take the great game by the scruff of the neck today like they did, show up for their teammates, show up for their county, it just speaks so much of them. And I couldn't speak highly enough of the 2 lads. I think they're just unbelievable for Kerry, and they're just 2 top lads. And look, our heart goes out to Shelley, to Dermot, to Paddy, and to David, of course, today. And it was nice that we could finish the day with David lifting the trophy for us, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to move on very quickly for Kerry. Mayo in 2 weeks' time. Are you happy after looking at that performance? Because I suppose the worry going in was, could Kerry come across as undercooked as, say, a Dublin looked against Kildare, but they didn't look undercooked today?
Well, in the first half, we were saying that Kerry looked a little bit heavy-legged, maybe a bit of nerves, new surroundings, whatever. You could say that. But as it went on, they seemed to get sharper, they seemed to get more physical, they seemed to get stronger, they seemed to get more clinical. First half, a lot of mistakes, gave away a lot of ball, both teams did. So sometimes when you come out of a game like that, you're after a good win, just take a couple of things to improve on and don't go mad. You don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Anything in particular that you'd like to see in the next 3 games in the group stage?
I think that they'll have to work defensively just to make sure that they keep teams down, because Clare don't have the best attack in the country and they got 15 points off Kerry. So if Kerry are coming up against a stronger attack, you don't want to go into territory of conceding 1-15, 2-15, because you're not gonna come out of the season with Northern Ireland win. That said, Kerry have fantastic defenders at the moment, so it was great to see them work some goal chances. Very impressed also with their physicality. So if they can kind of improve those things again, they'll be in a great place.
How's the body after the road show on Thursday night in Killarney?
Perfect. No, shook enough. We had a good few days. In fairness, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And obviously showed my prowess on the golf course, which is the most important.
Well, you paid £100 to me. I think I bet you then I turned it around on the 18th. Yeah, it was a great couple of days. The road show is available on YouTube. You can watch it back. Mark O'Shea was top class, wasn't he? He stole the show. Brilliant.
So many great stories, so much insight, and he's just a top fella.
Yeah.
Just a top man.
Yeah, we'll be back with our fella Paddy Andrews on Monday night. We will look back at the weekend's football and look ahead to next weekend's provincial finals. So stay tuned to OTB GA. There'll be GA on OTB AM tomorrow morning. James O'Donoghue, thanks a million for covering the Munster final for us today and Off the Ball. Fair play.
Thanks, Tommy.